Nothing says holiday spirit like a man in a red suit getting arrested at the mall. 1. The mall Santa who showed up drunk on eggnog. He brought himself in 2008. A department store in Indiana hired what they thought was a jolly local actor to play Santa. Turns out his idea of method acting involved chugging spiked eggnog in the parking lot before clocking in. Parents started noticing that Santa was slurring his ho-ho-hos and calling kids by names like Jeffrey Dahmer. Security found him later napping behind a display of toasters. When asked for a statement, he reportedly said, "Christmas is exhausting, man." He was fired immediately, but the store's Yelp page still had reviews praising him as the most realistic Santa ever. Because honestly, what's more realistic than a tipsy old man with boundary issues? 2. The Santa who got stuck in a chimney and had to be rescued by firefighters in California. A small-town Santa decided to make his grand entrance at a community party by sliding down an actual chimney. Spoiler, it was not the Santa kind of chimney, more like the industrial, soot-packed, human-sized trap kind. Halfway down, he got wedged tighter than a fruitcake in a blender. The fire department had to dismantle the fireplace while dozens of children watched their holiday hero get extracted like a confused raccoon. The headline the next morning? Santa brought smoke, not presents. The town banned real chimney entrances after that, replacing it with a nice, safe front door and a Santa who signs a no-climbing clause. 3. The Santa who robbed a bank. In full costume Dallas, Texas, 2011. A man dressed as Santa walked into a bank carrying a sack. Classic Christmas setup. But instead of toys, he pulled out a gun and demanded money for the children. Witnesses said he even tossed handfuls of cash in the air outside while yelling, "Merry Christmas!" as he fled. The police dubbed him Santa Bandit, because apparently even criminals get festive nicknames. He was caught later that day at a Denny's, counting stolen bills next to a Grand Slam breakfast. The moral: when your holiday spirit crosses into federal crime territory, you're not Santa. You're just a very stupid man in polyester. 4. The mall Santa who terrified kids because his beard fell off. Mid-ho-ho-ho, one mall in Ohio learned the hard way that discount costumes and small children don't mix. Their Santa, a teenager filling in for his uncle, was mid-photo when his fake beard snapped off, revealing a zit-covered face and a terrified 17-year-old screaming, "I'm not Santa!" Kids panicked. One started crying so loudly the mall had to bring in an emotional support reindeer, a guy in a moose suit. Parents demanded refunds, and the photo booth's new policy became beard tug test before every shift. Somewhere in that mall's lost security footage is the exact moment Christmas died for a Wurt's dozen toddlers. 5. The Santa who got a DUI in his sleigh, technically a lawn tractor. In Wisconsin, one local Santa decided to spread joy by cruising through town on a riding lawnmower decorated with tinsel and flashing lights. It would have been a wholesome holiday moment if he hadn't been towing a cooler of beer and a very noticeable blood alcohol level. Police pulled him over after witnesses reported a suspiciously festive tractor doing donuts. When officers asked how much he'd had to drink, he replied, "Just enough to make the reindeer fly." He spent Christmas Eve in county jail, where other inmates reportedly called him Santa Clink. It's proof that even magic sleighs need a designated driver. 6. The Santa who started a snowball fight and lost horribly. In Pennsylvania, a small-town holiday parade took a dark turn when Santa decided to liven things up by throwing snowballs at the crowd. The crowd, however, decided to throw back, with enthusiasm, velocity, and apparently deep-seated childhood trauma. Within minutes, the jolly man in red was under siege, pelted by a blizzard of frozen revenge. The parade had to stop, while elves formed a human shield. The headline the next day read, "Santa Claus declares snowball ceasefire." Local legend says he still refuses to visit that town, muttering, "They know what they did." 7. The Santa who got into a fistfight with a Grinch. It was supposed to be a charity event in Oregon, Santa versus the Grinch, a fun holiday boxing exhibition for kids. But halfway through, things got a little too real. Santa took offense at the Grinch, accidentally hitting him below the belt, and what began as a choreographed match turned into a full-blown brawl. Mrs. Claus had to pull them apart while children screamed and elves tried to mediate. The police report described it as a seasonal disagreement that escalated. Both men were charged with disorderly conduct, and the event was renamed Christmas Chaos 2, No Miracles This Year. 8. The Santa who set off a fire alarm. During his grand entrance at a mall in Florida, the marketing team wanted to make Santa's arrival epic. Their idea? Have him descend from the ceiling on a harness surrounded by artificial snow and fog. What they didn't anticipate was the fog machine triggering every smoke alarm in the building. Shoppers fled, sprinklers went off, and poor Santa was left dangling midair, spinning like a rotisserie ornament. Firefighters arrived to find him shouting, "It's just Christmas magic!" over the alarm. No one was injured, but the mall quietly switched back to escalator entrances the following year, slightly less dramatic, but significantly less flammable. 9. The Santa who refused to break character, even during his arrest. In Colorado, police arrested a man for trespassing after he broke into a closed bar to spread Christmas cheer. When officers found him, he was sitting at the counter, eating leftover pretzels and muttering, "These kids never leave me milk." He gave his name as Kris Kringle, refused to remove his hat for the mugshot, and kept insisting he needed to get back to the sleigh. The cops played along, asking where he parked it. "Rooftop," he said proudly, which turned out to be accurate. His car was indeed stuck on the bar's roof ramp. Even in cuffs, he shouted, "Merry Christmas to all, except whoever called the cops." 10. The Santa who got stuck in the escalator. Feet first. In a New Jersey mall, Santa's grand entrance was supposed to be simple: ride the escalator down to greet the children. But this Santa had big boots, a long robe, and an even longer history of bad luck. Halfway down, his costume got caught in the moving steps, dragging him feet first into the machinery like a festive horror movie. The escalator jammed, sparks flew, and terrified toddlers watched Santa scream, "Oh no!" Maintenance had to shut down the entire system and free him using bolt cutters. The mall tried to spin it as a teachable moment about safety. But let's be real, it was the most traumatizing Christmas demo ever. Somewhere out there, a generation of kids still panics every time they see an escalator. 11. The Santa who used his sleigh for shoplifting. In Arizona, one entrepreneurial Santa turned his mall gig into a side hustle by stealing electronics from the stores around him. He'd wave cheerfully to security cameras, stash Bluetooth speakers in his toy bag, and exit for his break. His plan unraveled when he tried to stuff a 40-inch TV down the chimney display. When police confronted him, he said, "I'm just redistributing wealth." The store manager called it the worst example of Christmas spirit since Krampus. The arrest photo showed him smiling broadly, still in full costume, proof that even a criminal record couldn't shake his commitment to the bit. 12. The Santa who fell asleep in a kid's lap. At a community center in Idaho, parents waited in line for an hour to get their kid's photo with Santa, only to find him snoring mid-session. The man, a retired bus driver, had accidentally taken 2 extra-strength sleeping pills instead of his allergy meds. So there he sat, unconscious, gently drooling onto a 4-year-old's winter coat while the elf photographer whispered, "Just smile, sweetie." When he finally woke up, he thought he'd been abducted by elves. Parents were furious, kids were confused, and the headline the next day summed it up perfectly: Silent Night Sleeping Santa. 13. The Santa who accidentally kidnapped a child. This one sounds dark, but it's mostly just absurd. At a crowded Christmas fair in Illinois, a volunteer Santa helped what he thought was a lost little girl find her parents. He lifted her up and started walking toward the information booth, only to discover halfway there that her actual dad was chasing him through the crowd screaming, "Put my daughter down!" Security broke up what looked like a festive abduction scene, and poor Santa was detained until the misunderstanding was cleared. The child later said, "I wasn't scared. I just thought we were going to the North Pole." Somewhere in that town, there's still a rumor that Santa got arrested for human trafficking. 14. The Santa who puked in the parade float in Louisiana. A local festival featured a huge Christmas parade with Santa riding a glittering sleigh float. But nobody accounted for the 90-degree heat, his heavy suit, and the chilly cook-off he'd visited beforehand. Mid-parade, witnesses say, Santa turned pale, waved weakly, and then redecorated his sleigh with what can only be described as reindeer stew. The crowd screamed, kids cried, and the marching band behind him slipped in the aftermath like a holiday war zone. The local paper called it the ho-ho hurl heard round the parish. Santa was fine, just dehydrated and publicly humiliated. The float, however, was retired permanently. 15. The Santa who lost his beard. To a toddler with vengeance in Michigan, a 2-year-old on Santa's lap decided to conduct her own reality check. Mid-photo, she reached up, grabbed his beard, and yanked with the strength of a miniature gladiator. The entire thing came off in her hand. The crowd gasped. One parent screamed, "He's fake!" and chaos erupted. Older kids sobbed, toddlers pointed, and one little boy shouted, "Liar!" while pelting Santa with a candy cane. The mall had to shut down the display early and offer elf therapy sessions, basically juice boxes. That Santa later described the incident as career-ending, mostly because he couldn't face explaining it to his own grandkids. 16. The Santa who tried to parachute into a school event, Florida. Because of course, it was Florida. A local skydiving club thought it'd be adorable for Santa to land at a school Christmas assembly via parachute. Everything went fine until Santa missed the field and plowed face first into a row of parked cars. The impact shattered the windshield of a Honda Civic and sent jingle bells echoing through the school PA system like a war siren. Kids screamed, teachers fainted, and the PTA president yelled, "Is he supposed to do that?" He survived with only a sprained ankle and a new nickname, Crash Claus. The school now uses a safer tradition. Santa just knocks politely at the gym door. 17. The Santa who got stuck in a window. During a break-in reenactment. In Ohio, a fire department's holiday fundraiser featured Santa, demonstrating safe chimney exits. Except there was no chimney, just a narrow window that the volunteer Santa insisted he could fit through, if he just angled right. He didn't. Halfway in, half out, red velvet butt hanging in the air, he yelled for help. The fire chief had to cut him loose with a saw while laughing so hard he nearly dropped it. The crowd of kids got to see Christmas magic turn into home renovation. Local news called it Santa's Great Escape and window replacement tutorial. 18. The Santa who started a bar fight with Elvis. At a Nevada holiday festival, two performers, one dressed as Santa, the other as Elvis, got into an argument about whose act should go first. Santa claimed Christmas had seniority. Elvis argued, "The king comes before the claws." Words turned to shoves, and within minutes, the event turned into a Vegas-style showdown. Plastic candy canes were used as weapons, fake snow became smoke cover, and Mrs. Claus was screaming, "Not again!" Security broke it up, but witnesses swear Santa's last words before being cuffed were, "You ain't nothing but a hound, Grinch." It's the only time in history a Christmas show got a parental advisory warning. 19. The Santa who gave kids his actual phone number. In a small-town mall in Iowa, a well-meaning but clueless Santa thought it'd be sweet to hand out business cards saying, "Call Santa anytime." Unfortunately, it was his real cell number, and children took it very literally. He got over 300 calls a day, mostly at 3 a.m., from kids asking about reindeer logistics or confessing to minor crimes. "I kicked my brother, but I'm still good, right?" His phone eventually melted down under the pressure, and his wife left him a note. "If one more elf calls at midnight, I'm moving to Aruba." The mall now screens all Santas for boundaries, a lesson learned the hard, loud way. 20. The Santa who got banned from a zoo. In Kansas City, a man was hired to play Santa at the zoo's Christmas safari. His only job, hand out candy canes and wave. But he took the animal connection too far, sneaking behind enclosures to feed lions leftover hot dogs. When zookeepers stopped him, he shouted, "They're my reindeer substitutes!" Security escorted him out, while the penguins looked deeply disappointed. The headline read, "Santa Claus claws his way out of the zoo." He was permanently banned, but rumor says he still sends the Lions Christmas cards every year. 21. The Santa who lost his pants. Mid-photo session, in a Texas shopping center, Santa stood up for a group photo with 20 kids, and gravity decided to make it interesting. His belt buckle popped, his pants dropped, and suddenly St. Nick was half naked in front of an audience of horrified parents. One quick-thinking elf tried to cover him with a tree skirt, but the damage was done. A mom fainted, a dad yelled, "Not in front of the children," and the mall's PR team immediately entered witness protection. The newspaper headline said it best. "Santa's North Pole makes unscheduled appearance. He never lived it down, or buttoned up again without 2 safety pins." 22. The Santa who tried to ride a real reindeer. In Alaska, a Santa performer thought it would look more authentic if he entered the Christmas market on a live reindeer. Problem: reindeer are not docile props. They're moody, muscular snow tanks. Halfway across the field, the animal bucked, launched Santa into a cotton candy stand, and bolted straight into the crowd. The video went viral under the title Reindeer 1, Santa 0. The market banned live animals the next year, though one vendor joked, "At least we know who really runs Christmas." The Santa in question reportedly quit performing and switched to Easter Bunny gigs, because bunnies kick softer. 23. The Santa who was caught stealing from the donation box. You'd think if anyone could resist stealing from a charity fund, it'd be Santa. Not this one. In New Mexico, a mall Santa was caught on security camera dipping into the Salvation Army kettle between photo sessions. He claimed he was just testing the honesty system. Unfortunately, the honesty system failed, and so did his acting career. When the cops showed up, he actually tried to jingle the handcuffs like sleigh bells. The local news dubbed him Klepto Claus. The charity later auctioned off his confiscated Santa hat to raise funds. It made 3 times what he stole. 24. The Santa who used his elf as a getaway driver. In Portland, a mall Santa decided to borrow a golf cart for a joyride through the parking lot. He recruited his teenage helper, dressed in full elf costume, as his getaway driver. They made it about 30 yards before crashing into a display of inflatable penguins. When security asked what they were doing, Santa shouted, "We were testing the sleigh!" The elf immediately ratted him out. The police report literally read, "Suspect fled on foot in pointy shoes." They both ended up on the mall's naughty list, permanently. 25. The Santa who was allergic to kids. A small-town Santa in Tennessee made it through exactly 3 shifts before breaking out in full hives. Turns out, he was severely allergic to the synthetic fabric in his costume, and, unfortunately, the coconut-scented hand sanitizer used on every kid's hands. His face swelled up like a cherry tomato mid-photo. Children screamed, parents panicked, and Santa was rushed to urgent care, then still shouting, "I'm fine, ho-ho, honestly," through an EpiPen haze. He later told reporters, "Next year, I'm being the Grinch. At least he doesn't have to hug anyone." 26. The Santa who led a police chase. On a scooter in Las Vegas, police received calls about a drunken Santa weaving through traffic on a mobility scooter, blasting Christmas music at full volume. When officers tried to stop him, he yelled, "You'll never catch the Claus," and sped off, topping out at a thrilling 8 miles per hour. The chase lasted 45 minutes, mostly because everyone was laughing too hard to stop him. When they finally caught up, he offered them candy, canes as bail. He was cited for public intoxication, but his mugshot, smiling in full Santa gear, became an instant Christmas meme titled "Fast and the Festive." 27. The Santa who crashed a wedding reception. In Georgia, a hotel was hosting 2 events at once, a children's Christmas party and a wedding. Santa, already tipsy on complimentary eggnog, wandered into the wrong ballroom, shouted "Ho ho, oh no!" and immediately tripped into the wedding cake. Covered in frosting, he tried to save face by handing the bride a candy cane and whispering, "You've been very good this year." The groom disagreed. He was escorted out by security to the sound of Jingle Bell Rock playing softly in the background. That poor couple's wedding photos? A mix of romance, horror, and one very sticky St. Nick. 28. The Santa who got a restraining order from Mrs. Claus in Utah. A real-life married couple played Santa and Mrs. Claus for a retirement home's holiday event. Cute, right? Until the husband, in character, started flirting a bit too heavily with the elves. Mrs. Claus, the real wife, didn't find it festive. She filed an actual restraining order the following week, citing unprofessional behavior at the North Pole. When reporters asked for comment, she said, "He can keep the reindeer." It was later revealed that the event organizers sent them separate checks to avoid another Christmas argument. Hallmark still hasn't turned that story into a movie, but it's only a matter of time. 29. The Santa who got stuck in the car wash in Oregon. A local car wash hosted a Santa Sleigh Wash charity event, with Santa riding through the tunnel to wave at kids. He decided to make it extra fun by staying on top of a convertible as it rolled in. Halfway through, the brushes kicked on, and Santa was instantly engulfed in foam and spinning bristles like a festive tumbleweed. He emerged soaking wet minus 1 boot, screaming, "That was not approved by the elves." The footage went viral as Santa's spin cycle. The car wash now requires all Santas to sign a no rooftop waving agreement. 30. The Santa who accidentally set his beard on fire. In Minnesota, during a small-town tree lighting ceremony, Santa leaned too close to a candle while handing out gifts. His synthetic beard went up like a marshmallow at summer camp. Instead of panicking, he just calmly said, "Well, kids, that's what happens when you don't listen to Mrs. Claus." Firefighters on standby quickly extinguished the blaze, but not before a dozen parents caught the moment on camera. The photo, Santa mid-laugh with smoke curling from his chin, won funniest local news photo of the year. He now uses a fireproof beard and tells kids he's been through worse than coal. 31. The Santa who got into a snowman fight, and lost. At a winter festival in Vermont, Santa was supposed to pose for photos beside a giant inflatable snowman. But high winds caused Frosty to deflate mid-session, and instead of waiting for staff to fix it, Santa decided to help. His solution? Punch it repeatedly. Unfortunately, a child misinterpreted this as a fun new Christmas game, and within seconds, 24 kids were drop-kicking Frosty while parents filmed the chaos. Santa tried to break it up, but slipped on fake snow and face-planted. The headline the next day, Santa declares war on snowman, loses ground quickly. The organizers banned interactive snow structures forever. 32. The Santa who mistook a funeral for a holiday party. In Indiana, a Santa for hire arrived at what he thought was a corporate Christmas luncheon. In reality, it was a memorial service being held in the same banquet hall. Oblivious, he marched in shouting, "Merry Christmas!" and started handing out candy canes to a room full of mourners. The pastor's face reportedly aged 10 years in 1 second. Once the confusion cleared, the poor guy apologized so hard he offered free appearances for life, which, unsurprisingly, no one accepted. The obituary section in the local paper later added a line, "Donations may be made in memory of Grandma," or to Santa's GPS fund. 33. The Santa who got deported from Canada. A man from Montana took his Santa act international by crossing into Canada for a small-town parade. But at the border, he failed to declare the bag of promotional North Pole snacks, homemade cookies laced with CBD oil. Border agents assumed he was smuggling edibles and detained him for 4 hours. When asked why his cookies smelled suspiciously herbal, he said, "They help me with sleigh lag." Canada deported him on the spot for unauthorized distribution of festive substances. His new nickname back home? Cannabis Claus. 34. The Santa who caused a full-scale airport lockdown. In Denver, a Santa hired for a flash mob thought it'd be hilarious to arrive from the North Pole by sprinting through the terminal yelling, "Where's my sleigh?" TSA did not find it hilarious. The panic triggered an airport-wide security lockdown. Passengers were evacuated, flights delayed, and poor Santa was detained for questioning in full costume. When officers asked what he was thinking, he said, "I thought it'd make people smile." One agent replied, "It made 2,000 people late for Christmas." His mugshot, Santa behind TSA glass, became an annual meme captioned, "Fly nice, not naughty." 35. The Santa who tried to fix the Christmas lights himself. In Nebraska, a local Santa offered to help a mall fix a flickering string of Christmas lights. Armed with confidence and zero electrical training, he climbed up the display ladder, twisted a wire, and short-circuited the entire power grid for 3 blocks. The lights went out, the carousel died mid-spin, and the whole mall went dark. When firefighters arrived, he calmly said, "Well, I did something." The damages cost $14,000 to repair, and Santa's new nickname was the Spark Before Christmas. The mall now insists on a strict no helpful Santas policy. 36. The Santa who accidentally proposed to the wrong woman. At a holiday shopping event, a man dressed as Santa had planned to surprise his girlfriend with a proposal during her shift at the jewelry store. Unfortunately, there were 2 women dressed as elves that day, both blonde, both wearing identical green hats. He knelt down, opened the ring box, and popped the question, "To the wrong elf." The entire crowd gasped, and the real girlfriend arrived just in time to see Santa's romantic disaster unfold in 4K. The wrong elf said yes as a joke. The real one dumped him before Christmas Eve. The store released a public statement. All future proposals must come with ID verification. 37. The Santa who got stuck in a drive-thru window. In Kentucky, Santa tried to grab a quick snack between appearances, still in full costume. But when the drive-thru clerk accidentally closed the window on his sleeve, he leaned forward to free it and got wedged halfway inside the restaurant. For 5 excruciating minutes, employees tried to push and pull him out, while customers in line sang, "Up on the rooftop." Eventually, they had to unscrew the window frame. His fries went cold, his ego got bruised, and the manager had to explain the incident to corporate. The official report? Santa delivery method, unconventional. The video still circulates every December titled Makoho-ho-ho Meltdown. 38. The Santa who hijacked a train, sort of. In Colorado, a local tourist attraction called the Santa Express let their hired Santa greet passengers between train cars. But one overly enthusiastic Santa took it a bit further. He locked himself in the conductor's cabin, blew the whistle, and announced over the loudspeaker, "Next stop, the North Pole." He then pressed the wrong lever and actually set the train in motion. Luckily, it only rolled 30 feet before staff pulled the emergency brake. Parents screamed, kids cheered, and the conductor had a meltdown that could have powered a sleigh. The story made national news under the headline, "Santa takes the express route to jail." 39. The Santa who used real reindeer poop for authenticity. In Idaho, a self-described method actor Santa wanted his display to feel truly magical. So he spread real reindeer droppings around his sleigh setup, claiming it added realism. Unfortunately, it also added a biohazard. The mall reeked of barnyard for 3 days, shoppers gagged, and one mom slipped in it while taking photos. Health inspectors shut down the entire display. When questioned, Santa said, "The smell keeps the elves humble." He was promptly replaced with a cardboard cutout that, according to parents, felt much more lifelike. 40. The Santa who got arrested for caroling too aggressively. In Oregon, Santa took his street performance too seriously. He marched through downtown blasting Jingle Bell Rock on a portable speaker and demanding passersby sing along or get coal. When one man refused, Santa started following him, singing louder and louder until police intervened. He was charged with disturbing the peace in 4/4 time. Witnesses said his arrest looked like a scene from a musical, him yelling, "You can't silence Christmas," as the handcuffs clicked. Local news called it Silent Night, Violent Night. 41. The Santa who fell into a Christmas tree. Live on TV in Chicago, a live morning news broadcast featured a mall Santa turning on a giant Christmas tree. Right as the anchor said, "Let's hear it for Santa," the man tripped on the power cord and somersaulted directly into the decorated fur. Ornaments exploded like grenades, fake snow filled the air, and the camera cut to commercial mid-scream. The clip became a holiday staple, replayed every year as the Christmas collapse. That Santa later said, "At least I went out in a blaze of tinsel." 42. The Santa who mistook a cop for a naughty elf in Oklahoma. Police responded to reports of a disoriented Santa stumbling down Main Street. When the officer approached, Santa slapped him on the shoulder and said, "Didn't I fire you last Christmas?" The cop, not amused, asked for ID. Santa replied, "You first, fake elf." A brief scuffle ensued, and both ended up rolling on the sidewalk while bystanders sang "Let It Snow." The report simply read, "Suspect refused to recognize officer's authority, claiming North Pole jurisdiction. Case dismissed, mostly out of seasonal mercy." 43. The Santa who fell off the parade float and kept going. At a Texas Christmas parade, Santa took a tumble off his sleigh float mid-route. The crowd gasped, but instead of stopping, he popped up, started jogging, and kept waving as if it were all part of the act. The band behind him began playing "Run, Run, Rudolph," and the crowd went wild. He ran the full parade route on foot, high-fiving kids and yelling, "Sleighs in the shop!" It became a viral feel-good story, proof that even a disaster can look heroic if you commit hard enough. 44. The Santa who brought a flamethrower to a tree lighting in Nevada. A modern Santa decided to light the town's Christmas tree using what he described as a festive flamethrower. The fire department described it as arson. The tree went up instantly, followed by the gazebo, and finally, Santa's own eyebrows. Firefighters doused the flames as he shouted, "It's just warm holiday cheer." The city banned open flames within a 5-mile radius of any future Santas. His burned gloves are now a prized souvenir in the local bar. 45. The Santa who got stuck in the North Pole. Exhibit: a museum in Alaska featured a life-sized Santa's workshop exhibit, complete with animatronic elves and fake snow. During a holiday event, their real Santa decided to crawl inside the workshop for photos, but the door jammed shut. For 4 hours, he was trapped inside while robotic elves kept moving and laughing around him. Visitors thought it was part of the show. When they finally freed him, he emerged whispering. They wouldn't stop singing. That exhibit's now known locally as Santa's Panic Room. 46. The Santa who hosted a protest. Instead of a parade in California, a man hired to lead a Christmas parade misunderstood the assignment. He thought he was attending a protest against holiday commercialization, so he brought signs that said, "Stop lying to kids and Santa quits." He walked the entire parade route yelling, "I'm out of the toy business," while horrified children watched from the sidewalks. Parents screamed, organizers cried, and local police gently escorted him out, though one officer admitted he made some points. 47. The Santa who accidentally released 2,000 balloons indoors. At a Florida convention center, organizers planned a big balloon drop finale for Santa's arrival. He pulled the wrong cord early, releasing every single balloon while the crowd was still entering. Hundreds of them got sucked into ceiling fans, popping like fireworks. The sound set off the fire alarm, forcing an evacuation mid-silent night. When reporters asked Santa what went wrong, he said, "I panicked. There were too many children." To this day, locals call it the pop heard around the pole. 48. The Santa who drove into a nativity scene. And finally, the crown jewel of Christmas chaos. In Pennsylvania, a shopping center Santa, late for his shift and texting on sleigh, drove straight into the outdoor nativity display. The van hit the stable, knocking over Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus like bowling pins. Witnesses say Santa stumbled out yelling, "Everyone's fine. The Lord's been resurrected early." No one was hurt, but the story went global. The headline read, "Santa takes out Jesus, still gets paid hourly." So there you have it. 48 Santas proving the holiday spirit sometimes comes with a police report. Which one deserves a lump of coal the most? You decide. Ho ho, hold my beer and drop your pick in the comments.